Hey, this is Bob and Jedidiah, John. We are going through the trust room. What's interesting about the trust room is there's this journey, this picture that I'll have to paint for you some other time that was really sincere, very touching, very just a mystery. And then we have from Jedidiah John's book stories that reflect that value of trust. So he's going to read it, and there's stories that I just got to relive with him as I've read his book. I hope it's not Hereditary. I would encourage you to get 54 copies. Okay? For people, it's outstanding. So you'll see. So he's going to read it. He's going to make a few comments on how it reflected trust, and then I will. And then we'll go to the other stories that we just had for this room, and I think they'll make you smile. Go ahead, son.
All right. One morning in high school, I heard a voice breaking through my dreams. Buddy, you slept in. You're going to be late for school. I pried my eyes open as my dad shook me out of a deep slumber. I was halfway through my junior year in high school and had already nearly exhausted my year's allowance of tardy arrivals to class. I leapt out of my bed and quickly embraced my dad. Oh no, thanks for waking me up. I grabbed some clothes and headed towards the shower. Hey, no problem, Dad said with a smile. I flipped on the shower and hopped in without waiting for the water to warm up. It was the dead of winter in Kansas City, and I couldn't help but let out a yelp when I was hit with water, which, in the words of Andre 3000, was cooler than being cool. Accomplishing the dual benefit.
Who's Andre 3000?
He was
the giant
outcast. Hey, hey, I don't know. It was a big deal,
yes,
but not in 2014 or whenever this is.
Okay.
Like, accomplishing the dual benefit of not being late and not getting hypothermia, I showered at lightning speed, ran downstairs, and poured myself a bowl of cereal. While munching on my sizable bowl of Honey Bunches of Oats, I noted that it was still dark outside, but I didn't give it much thought. It was mid-January, and the sun normally didn't show itself until just before school started. My thoughts turned to my homework assignments. Had I finished everything? Was there a test today? My brain normally took a while to warm up, especially in the winter, but I was having an abnormal amount of difficulty to remember what I had scheduled for the day. I finished my bowl of cereal and headed back to my room to grab my keys and backpack. As I walked back upstairs, I began to notice a couple of anomalies. I think I probably meant abnormalities, but where was my mom? She was always up before me. For that matter, where were the dogs? They never ever slept past 6 in the morning. What time was it? I poked my head into my parents' room and saw my mom lying in her bed fast asleep. Our dog Winston, who slept on the floor of my parents' room, slowly picked up his head and lazily looked at me as if to say, "What the heck are you doing up at this hour?" I glanced at my mom's clock. It read 3:16 a.m. I pulled my phone out of my pocket for verification. Sure enough, it was the middle of the night, and on top of that, it was Saturday. I processed this information for several moments, then it finally clicked. About 2 weeks ago, I had moved from my room in the basement to our family's guest room. The room was bigger, and I found the guest room bed to be considerably more comfortable. For years, however, my dad, who sometimes had trouble sleeping through the night, had developed a bit of a habit of getting up in the middle of the night and reading. He couldn't turn on the light in his room because of both my mom and Winston, so he would always head to the guest room to read. He also found the guest room bed to be considerably more comfortable. Early that morning, when my dad had gotten up and noticed that I was now occupying his favorite late-night reading spot, he decided to perform an ouster. I don't even know what that means.
Ouster. Got you out of there.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes.
I walked back down the hallway toward my bedroom and slowly opened the door. Snuggled beneath the covers of my bed, my dad slowly lowered a book he had in front of his face, revealing a very wry smile. He looked at me smugly and giggled. "You are a very unusual man," I said. He slapped the bed and smiled. "Come on, you can come cuddle with your daddy." I slept downstairs. After 22 years, I've concluded two major things concerning my father. Number one, I sure hope I grow up to be like my mother. And number two, I could not have asked for a better dad.
Man, that's awesome, man.
At some point in our lives, I believe we all question, at least briefly, why we were placed in our family. Like when your own father convinces you you're late for school and only so he can steal your bed as you rush downstairs in a panic. It's just a little hard during those times not to wonder why you couldn't have been placed in a more normal family. While growing up, I was frequently asked, so who did you get your blonde curly hair from? Which is not blonde anymore, but it was a valid question. My parents both have straight dark hair. My grandparents all had straight hair. And heck, besides one of my uncles, nobody in my extended family even had curly hair. I was often befuddled by the question myself. Everyone else has straight dark hair, so why am I the anomaly?
Now you're using it right there. Anomaly.
What, did I say it wrong?
No, earlier you had it, but...
Abnormality? Yeah. That's the... I have finally concluded that the answer is one of two very distinct possibilities. Either A, who knows where I got it from, it's a recessive gene, sometimes like things like this happen. Or B, I'm not really my parents' offspring and everything I have ever known is a lie.
I was there, you were ours.
I prefer the former, but the latter is certainly a compelling thought that I haven't yet completely dismissed. Maybe I was adopted, and my parents just didn't have the heart to tell me. Or perhaps they themselves don't know. Maybe I was accidentally switched in the hospital nursery. Not that I ever really felt out of place in my family. I just felt oddly confused by the assortment of personalities that had been injected into it. I mean, if God is an omniscient being, wouldn't he have known better to cram all of these personalities together in one family? It's like throwing Mentos in a bottle of Diet Coke, shaking it up and not expecting an ensuing explosion.
That's excellent.
So rather than question God's omniscience, I often assumed the mix-up was actually just the fault of some absent-minded maternity nurse. Every time my dad would be, well, himself, shouting prayers into the streets or driving to Arizona to clean a carpet, I would ponder if I had a tall, skinny, and completely normal biological father with blonde hair out there somewhere in the world. I felt huge compassion for my normal biological father as he was now taking care of an unruly, muscle-bound troublemaker who was the actual biological son of Bob Hartley. But then one day while eating dinner with my family, my little sister Taylor said something that helped change my perception of my family. We were discussing the convoluted mixture of odd thinkers we had in our family, and in the middle, Taylor, who was no more than 13 at the time, decided to derail the conversation. You know, when I look at all you guys, I don't know if this is quite the assortment of individuals I would have chosen for family members. As she paused, we all stopped eating and looked at her with raised eyebrows. My dad and I glanced at each other and then back at her wearing an identical expression that said, yeah, well, we probably wouldn't have chosen you either, you punk. After all this was the girl who spent the entire last year speaking in a thick Russian accent for no decipherable reason beyond the fact that she considered it funny. I totally forgot about that.
That is good.
I could tell Dad was about to respond with some sort of snarky comment when Taylor quickly finished her thought. But I'm sure glad it happened this way. As a 13-year-old, she had stumbled upon something I am just now beginning to understand myself. I couldn't tell you exactly why I was put in the family I'm in, why we all butt heads, and while we all butted heads with different personalities and life philosophies, or why my dad and I have 0 points of agreement besides the Kansas City Chiefs, but I'm sure as heck glad it turned out that way.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So what's that say to you about trust?
It says trust your editors because there were several typos in there that I made to... No. Yeah, where you go?
Well, during this time at this yellow house, so I just had, this is the way I hear it, God. I feel like, I said, why is nobody around me in the trust room? He said, well, they've kicked you out 3 times. They're sick of you worrying around here. So I just thought, to have that trust. It's like, when we were having real challenges with the family, I had a dream, and it was our legacy. It just meant our togetherness and our different personalities. And it was this big rock that had all of our personalities and all the chips, like Mount, what's that with the four heads on it?
Mount Rushmore?
Yeah. And each of one of us, and each was carved differently. And I just saw that's a solid, even though it seems sometimes tenuous. It's like we disagreed on a lot of things, but it's just at the end of the day, you just enjoy each other.
Yeah.
And then when what somebody was, well, this is my own our extended family is, just that one of the family members got upset with the rest of us, and somebody called me and said, I think it's going to be 10 years. And I thought, oh, that would be horrible.
Yeah.
And then it was almost 10 years of the day where everything just eased, and we figured out love was greater than trust, and there was real reasons why we were put together. And then we started to enjoy each other's differences, celebrate them versus look at them as, deficiencies. And so that's what I really loved about our family, about the Irish, Italian, Catholic family, that there was just a celebration of differences and distinctions. We just think you're wrong as heck, but I just love your journey, love who you are. And so that's, I like that with
well,
Taylor.
I think with Taylor, there's this, you can ask a lot of the questions of, why am I in this situation? And that can go from small things of like, why is this the family that, not that that's a big thing, but like, I think even when there's harder questions of, why did life turn out this way? Being able to like embrace a certain level of trust with God, trust with your family, trust that just this is the way that it is, and the way that God made it to be. So
with people. Was that Kevin back there talking like a baby?
No, it's
Brandy.
Randy,
Yeah. So, yes. So I just think it's a real lesson in knowing how to walk through life and being able to relate to one another, and knowing there's a treasure in the other person. Yeah. And you get to unwrap them versus, all right, they got too big a thighs. All right, like right now, I got too big a, it's water weight. And I get your shirt on. Can't find my own. So, but I just think that's classic. And I trust you many times. Like when we've talked about it, but I haven't talked about it, but when we were serious as, they say, different things, but serious as could be about Y2K.
Yeah.
You and your buddy went down and flipped the lights off at midnight. We thought we were all going to be exterminated instantly. We were holding our heads. And
I feel like you shortchanged that story a little bit. Or
not give you enough credit.
I'm just saying that you got to build the picture, because that was hilarious. That
yes.
Everybody's worried about Y2K.
Y2K. We had lived in foreign nations, been rough, so we come back and we're insecure and intense about Y2K, and America's asleep. They don't realize we're all going to be in this apocalyptic devastation, cruel desperation. Yeah. We're done. People need to turn to God.
We had these big containers, 60-gallon tanks of water, and in the basement, and grain. Yeah.
And guns, your uncle, and gold.
Yeah.
We had currency that we could trade. And so we're all in the living room at midnight, and we're just trying to pray.
Well, right, but I wasn't. Because I'm 9 years old at this time, and so there's a couple of families that come over, and my friend Sam, who's like a couple of years older than me, we were supposed to go to bed because it's midnight, or it's getting close to midnight or whatever, and so we're in bed, and then we sneak out probably like 11, 11:30, and we go down into the basement while you guys are all praying in the living room. And well, you can take it from here.
Well, and the only reason why Sam was there, because Clay, his dad, was the only guy who knew how to do anything on a farm. Or we had Mitch Wheeler, and we had Kent and Lynn, I think, were there. So we got Clay, but you and Sam together were an honorary couple, and they sparked each other. And so the lights go off, we're counting down.
So you guys, because he's up at the top of the stairs, and he's
like telling your own story.
He's had it correct. Yeah, you're not giving it enough
feel
credit.
The pain from it.
It's
my God.
9 years old. It peaked.
You hit one of your peaks.
So
terrorizing us.
Yeah, so you guys are all praying in there and counting down, and so 10, 9, 8, and Sam, because I couldn't, and I'm over at the breaker. And so Sam gives me a nod when it hits, when you guys go to, 3, 2, 1, 0. He gives me a nod, and I just flip. The TV turns off, the lights turn off, and it's like, okay, apocalypse. And I remember Donna screaming. Yes. I just remember hearing Donna scream so loud.
Yes.
And then I think after like 15 seconds, we flipped everything back on, and then got up into.
You talk about a mood swing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Thinking the apocalypse has started for 15 seconds, and then
I'm in glee. Because,
Yeah, it's the end times.
It's the end times, man.
Yeah,
it's happening.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Then when it really hit, I'm not ready for this. So.
Yeah, I mean, I probably wrote the story emphasizing our differences, but there might be some instances where it was clear I was kind of Bob's son.
That's good, man. Okay, well, that's the reality of trusting. There'll be many challenges, family and with friends, and you just make a choice in the beginning, to trust and see people as a gold box to open up and as a present. I remember one time being in an airport, and there was a snowstorm, and there's, some people screaming at the stewardess, get us out of here, Yeah. And then there's Ben, who's my friend, and there's a little boy that needs help, and we've been there 18 hours or something, and he just saw people as treasure. So the same snowstorm, but he gets up and he cares for this little boy with joy. Because people are a gift, and I think it was a miracle because the boy was trying to call us home, and he was terrified. He was there by himself. And his mom he gets him on the phone. Back then, had to use a pay phone. I'm just watching Ben Woodard just get beyond all the commotion of the people to kind of look at him as a celebration.
Yeah,
and I see Jesus celebrating people from the littlest to the biggest, and just to be able to, in the short 80 years, 90, whatever it is, or 60, 70, it's just to turn to doubting human beings so quickly versus giving them, not magnifying their mistakes, or even downright when they lose it, but magnifying, the joys about them. We're going to be able to do that. And I believe we're going to come into a celebration of one another, every nation, tribe, and tongue. I don't think love's forced, but I think we're invited to a deeper attunement, especially in this hour when we see people not trusting each other, it seems like, but when you got the news, and it's right before you. It might have been happening earlier in generations, but just you got 24-hour bad news sometimes, And so you got to be careful what you pay attention to. It's just magnify your troubles and magnify love and trust. And so I think the heart leads as the heart. I chose to magnify love and trust, So
yeah, and I
we
think
might have our problems, but I look around out there,
yeah,
and I think, man, we got it pretty good.
yeah.
You and me, even though I'm more handsome, and that's been hard for you. How hard has that been? Real hard.
It's a burden that you got.
It's a burden.
Yeah.
Yeah. The new lighting doesn't make you look as good as you do, but it's sure making me look good. Well, excellent. Let's do part 2. Let's do another one. This is fun.
Okay.
Bless you. Okay.